25 absurd random history facts, ranging from the odd to the outright hilarious. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like, as it goes a long way in helping us achieve world domination. Without further ado, let's begin. Napoleon Bonaparte's most humiliating moment would arguably take place in July of 1807, where the famous conqueror was attacked by a horde of rabbits during a rabbit hunt he had arranged for himself and his men. Once released from their cages, the rabbits simply charged at Napoleon and his men, turning the hunter into the hunted. Oh, what I wouldn't give to witness that. Since Napoleon lived until 1821, I think it's fair to say the rabbits didn't succeed in killing him. However, the humiliation it likely caused him was good enough. On the 27th of August, 1896, the Anglo Zanzibar War broke out between Britain and Zanzibar. It ended 38 minutes later with one British sailor wounded. On Zanzibar's part, roughly 500 were either wounded or killed, including military and civilians alike. This is considered to be the shortest war in history, and it didn't last as long as half a football match. At US President Andrew Jackson's funeral in 1845, his pet African grey parrot had to be removed because it was swearing loudly and often disturbing other attendees. And here, we mourn the loss of the President of the United States. Following the death of Israel's first president in November of 1952, the presidency was offered to Albert Einstein, who declined, citing that he didn't have the natural aptitude to properly deal with people. Albert Einstein wasn't even from Israel, but declined the presidency on the basis of being an introvert. In France, during the year 1386, a pig was arrested, imprisoned, tried in court, and executed for murdering a child. Though not unique for an animal to be put on trial in the Middle Ages, it is still a silly thought. Rome's infamous tyrant Caligula once threatened to make one of his favourite horses a senator, citing that it could do a better job than human senators. He was assassinated before he could do this, and rumours have it that he had every intent of doing so. Unfortunately, in the end, he didn't really get the chance to. In the year 1820, the town of Salem, Massachusetts, notorious for its witch trials, held a trial to determine whether or not tomatoes were poisonous. The trial was settled when Colonel Robert Gibbon Johnson ate a whole basket of tomatoes without dying or falling ill. Clearly, they were a superstitious bunch. Though a trial against tomatoes in the 19th century is definitely far better than what they were doing at the end of the 17th century, the fear of the tomato, which sounds ridiculous to say, wasn't confined to Salem. I just think it's ironic that a town notorious for its witch trials put this superstition to bed. King Henry VIII had a groom of the stool, and their job was to wipe his backside after a bowel movement. All 4 individuals who served in this position under Henry's reign were knighted, so he literally knighted 4 blokes for wiping his backside. I also find it funny that by mathematics, they stuck around longer than his wives did. In the 13th century, Pope Gregory II declared cats to be associated with devil worship and had as many exterminated as possible. Many believe this led to the increased transmission of the bubonic plague due to the increase in rat infestations. However, of late, it's been acknowledged that the plague spread simply far too quickly for rats to be the only culprit. Dick moved from Gregory, banning cats though because cats are cool. The year 46 BCE was 445 days long by imperial decree, due to Julius Caesar implementing 2 extra leap months to bring the calendar in step with the seasons. The basis of the calendar afterward was the 365-day and 6-hour format that we know today. Cuban dictator Fidel Castro was targeted in over 600 plots to kill him, and the methods of some of these attempted assassinations were equally as absurd as the number of attempts on his life. From a poisoned diving suit to an exploding cigar, Castro, of course, survived and lived until 2016, where he passed away at the age of 90 years. In ancient Asia, and up until the 19th century, a popular method of execution was death by elephant. Elephants could be taught to inflict painful and horrific slow deaths, or simply execute people using large blades fitted to their tusks. I'm sure it made sense culturally. Suomu Yamaguchi was a 29-year-old naval engineer on a business trip to Hiroshima on the 6th of August, 1945. He survived the atomic bomb's blast, despite being only 2 miles away from Ground Zero. On the 7th, he boarded a train home to Nagasaki, where 2 days later, the other atomic bomb fell on the city. He survived again. Rumor has it he was discussing what he'd seen in Hiroshima with his colleagues when the second bomb fell, interrupting the conversation. Regardless, it's hard to tell if he was a lucky man or an unlucky one, though he lived a long life and only passed away at the age of 93. During Prohibition, the US government began to poison alcohol. When the law banning booze was passed, many continued to drink alcohol. As a result, law officials were frustrated and naturally responded by poisoning industrial alcohols, which were otherwise regularly stolen by bootleggers and converted into drinking alcohol. Those who consumed the poisoned beverages would die. This roughly resulted in the deaths of at least 10,000 people by the end of Prohibition in 1933. When forks were introduced to Italy in the 11th century, religious leaders referred to them as blasphemous because eating with artificial hands offended the Lord. If that's all it takes to offend God, I wonder what he thinks of Twitter. There's no evidence to suggest the church as a whole banned the usage of forks. However, individual Roman Catholic leaders on occasion expressed a dislike for it. What a ridiculous thing to get heated up about. American President Lyndon B. Johnson would continue his interviews while on the toilet. He'd have reporters and aides follow him into the bathroom in order to continue his meetings or interviews while taking care of some plumbing. I'm sure that was an awkward experience for everybody but him. In Strasbourg, in the Holy Roman Empire, in the year 1518, many locals began to dance uncontrollably for days on end until they died. This dancing mania lasted 2 months and isn't the only recorded instance of this occurring. In 1866, Liechtenstein sent out an army of 80 soldiers to participate in the Austro-Prussian War. None of the soldiers were killed, and 81 came back as they'd made a friend. The country's army was disbanded 2 years later, and has remained neutral ever since. I think that's for the best because they're clearly too powerful. During the 1930s, Australia technically went to war with emus. On one occasion, the Australian army found 1,000 emus grouped together and attempted to kill them. The emus won the war in the end. The unsuccessful attempt to curb the population of emus in Australia has been remembered as the Great Emu War. Between the years 1898 and 1910, heroin was distributed as a cough medicine. Side effects include scratching for more, I suppose. Here's a fun Hitler fact for you. According to medical records, Adolf Hitler took up to roughly 30 different drugs regularly at one point or another to contain his incessant and uncontrollable farting problem. I'd insert a gas joke here, but it would be inappropriate. If you want a mind tilt perspective, less time has passed between Cleopatra's reign of ancient Egypt and the invention of the smartphone than between her reign and the building of the pyramids themselves.